gardens people are always having fun. Out there in the garden in the rain and the sun.
So I'd like now to introduce Andi Benson. Andy's with the Cannington Community Garden, and he's kindly agreed to talk about their experience. So I'll call on Andi to present now. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Kaya, everybody. I'm Andi Benson. I'd like to acknowledge the Wadjuk people. We're on Wadjuk Budja in Cannington. So I'd like to acknowledge the people of past, present and future there. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, Chris. This is my first time at the WA garden. I'm such a newbie, I don't even know the full name. Yeah. So I'll just give you a little insight to the garden at Cannington. Cannington, I don't know if you know where that is. It's in the Canning area, not far from Canning River there. We're kind of round the corner from Carousel Shopping Centre. Down on Wharf Street, you've got Cannington Community College. We're directly across the road. There's the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the community garden is on the church property. There's about 60 square metres out the back. It started probably about 6-7 years ago. Some of the oldies in the church got together and wanted to do something with the vacant land out the back of the church there, and they made a few garden beds, and it's kind of gone from there. My daughter goes to school across the road from the garden, so I was walking past there and became intrigued, went in to say hi about 4.5 years ago, got roped in as a volunteer, and then I started to head up a Work for the Dole project that happened a couple of times a week, and I think has been a major source of funding for the garden. I've been fortunate to be employed in that role for the last 4 years. So I'll just take you for a little walk. This is around about the time when I came in a little bit before that. This is one of the first teams on the Work for the Dole project there. People from the church had already got these gardens up the front. They used an old parabola off the roof, turned it upside down to make that pagoda there. And
yep, I can see that in the background. Just
yeah, you'll see another one a bit later on. So there was fence. There's a massive car park on that side. There's fence there. That's vacant land there. Cannington is fairly high density. It's a low socio-economic demographic. You've got these 2-storied units. What's being encouraged there, so they're really cramming people in. Not a lot of big houses with big garden spaces in the area. So when people discover our garden there, they're quite excited that you've got plants and things growing. That's Greenie and Yusuf and another guy. Interesting characters. That was my first job there, digging dirt with Murray, one of the pensioners that had come along from the community there. Obviously not a lot happening at that stage. The beginnings of a compost bin. Once again, people on the Work for the Dole project that were pretty instrumental in a lot of the infrastructure there. Some early signs of bananas. There's a lady, Joanna, who lives across the road. She donated two banana trees to the garden because she couldn't fit them in the back of her own garden, and she said, have a couple of bananas. That was a little bit before this time. Now we've got probably about 40 bananas from the 2 originals. And being a pioneer plant, they're a huge benefit to the garden. We cut them up for mulch. We use big chunks go into our worm bins. Worms really love them, so if you're running out of food scraps and stuff, just chop up a bit of banana chunk, whack it in there, the worms get inside there, they have a ball. I also use them if we're planting trees or like a citrus tree or something, dig the hole out and whack a few chunks of banana stumps in there. They're a bit like a carbon capsule that feeds the plant at the beginning. Early days there. We've got, it's a big area. You've got a few citrus. Just about the beginning of COVID, we had a number of citrus trees stolen from the garden. People jumped the fence. They dug the trees out and found a couple of wheelbarrows that we hadn't locked up at the time. Then discovered that they were too heavy to get them up over the fence, so they've dug a 1 metre hole under the fence.
Almost like, you deserve it.
Well, and they're fruit trees. They're going to take 6 years before they get to fruit, so I couldn't find the logic there. It might have been, yeah. The council was very good with that. We contacted them about it. They got in touch with Bunnings, and Bunnings came along and donated, I think, about half a dozen fruit trees, 3 wheelbarrows, and a whole bunch of stuff. So a good result from a bad thing. That's our grass pit. We've got a couple of Jim's mowing guys that come in every fortnight or so, and they drop off their lovely grass clippings that just sit and rot and make a lovely smell in there, that then gets cycled through the compost and goes out there. That's from the vacant property on this side, looking in. So not too much happening at that stage. This is a street artist, Kelly, and he was on another Work for the Dole project in Gosnells, and we just met him through a network and said, would you like to paint our container there? Brilliant artist. We paid him for it, of course, and supplied him with the paints. I think he was more happy about that part because he got to keep the half empties. This is Heather, who I'm kind of standing in for today. She's one of the original founders. There was Heather, Jack, and probably 2 or 3 others around the same age from the church who originally kicked the whole thing off. We've been able to bring a little bit more younger muscle in, which is fairly important. Otherwise, these guys just sit around in the nursery having coffee all day. And so there's Kelly, a few other people helping him out. He's managed to get all of the colours of the rainbow through the different veggies, so really wonderful thing. This is out the back, probably about the 4th different crew we had on. A couple of Noongar boys there, and Michael and myself. This is still on church property here. You've got a nature corridor that runs from Albany Highway through to, it should run through to Seven Oaks and the railway station, but they've got apartments there now. There's still a fair bit of greenery. The church, Seventh-day Adventist, owns up to where these coppers are, so they've got another couple of metres on this side of the fence. We wanted to put we didn't want the fence to kind of shut the community out. So the idea with this space was to grow almost on a verge style, so that the community that are too scared to come through the gate, which is probably more than 50% of them, they can have a little forage out here. And I tasked this guy here, Graham, with putting in a wuggle serpent trail. We wanted to make it a native garden out there. And these guys were saying, well, how do you want us to do that, Andy? And I said, I'm the Wudjula. You know, you guys are the Noongar. And they really took it on board and got invested in it and made a nice serpent trail there. His brother is actually Lance Chad, who's you know Lance Chad. He's quite an acknowledged artist. But this guy's artwork, I'll show you some in a minute. It's pretty good.
So which guy are you talking about in particular?
So this is Graham here, and that's Robert over there. Graham's the artist there, and I did get his permission for the photo that he wasn't too happy about. He said, "Oh yeah, all right." So this is some of his artwork here. He did 4 totems. We got some paint for him, and he just got. He was taking them home in the back of his ute, took them home and worked on them, and then he brought in a couple of wheelbarrows that he painted up and donated to the garden, unasked for anything. So these are the nice little stories that come out of building community. So we mulch and we mulch and we mulch and we put the grass clippings in. We've had a pretty good run of pumpkins and watermelons through here over the years. There's two mulberry trees that began as just little strikings off a tree that we nicked off the Charles Treasure Park, put them in a bucket of water, let the roots grow, stuck them in the ground, and they're unbelievable. Get a lot of kids in those trees going for mulberries now. I'll show you when we move past 2020. That's some of Graham's artwork there. I'm still in contact with Graham, and there is a story in these totems here. I hadn't been paying enough attention when he first told me, because it was coffee break time, I think. But lovely fellow, and we're very fortunate to have that as part of the garden there. It's on the outside, so it kind of welcomes people in as well. That's my daughter and a school friend from a school across the road. We built a little cubby house to try and accommodate that side of the garden. That cubby house is not there anymore. It's rotted in the weather, so it's an upcoming project.
What was the one that rotted, Bill?
Just wood. Yeah. What rotted the wood?
Well, Jarrah wouldn't rot.
It wasn't. No, it was just.
Like here wood.
Yeah, it was crappy wood that we got off the verge. So, yeah. As with a lot of our original beds, it was handy to have the work for the dole fellas and girls on there, because a big part was busting up pallets. We'd have pallets donated to the garden, we'd bust them up with a pallet popper and build beds. They don't have a very long lifespan. 3 years is kind of pushing it, and then they start rotting and you get nails exposed and stuff. So we've moved on a bit since then. But that's just showing you what's happening there. We don't have membership fees, and we don't have allotments. We're in Cannington, so if we were to do that, I think we'd probably lose most of the core members that come into the garden. So we try and make it as free as possible. We get people who are a bit confused. Is this a church garden or is it a community garden? It is a community garden. We're regularly having to drag people who are looking through the fence, go out and say hi, bring them in. Cannington's it's the most multicultural suburb in Perth. You've got about 65% new Australian residents there, many of them with limited English, but they have a very keen curiosity for growing vegetables and things. And I've brought a number of people into the garden. They go, oh wow, we grow this in my country, this grows back in my country, and they're in apartments, so they don't have a lot of growing space. And when they see something like bananas, or we've got these lubba beans growing at the moment, and a Sri Lankan lady was freaking out about those, like, can I have some? I said, go for your life, nobody else knows what they are. So she took bags full, and then next week she comes back with a curry that she's made and says, here you go. So we're kind of thinking about doing a community cookbook, because it's these different people from the community that come in with their own cultural knowledge about how to use different parts of the plant in meals and things like that. And it's just, we've enjoyed Nepalese food, African food, Sri Lankan food. It's just, that's the best part about it for me. It's a real blast. Bananas on the tree there. Still not sure exactly what variety they are. Somebody said they're Seba, somebody said they're plantain. They taste all right to me though, so.
They're the best ones, they're free.
Yeah, they're free, yeah, that's right. And because it's such a mixture from the community there, Heather, one of the founders, myself, we both studied permaculture. So we like to apply things like earth care, people care, fair share, that kind of thing, and growing really sporadically in that sense. There are other old school gardeners who don't like it. Jack in particular, he says, "Oh no, you're doing it wrong. Do it like this." But that's all part of it. That's the core crew. A couple of minutes. All right.
The community garden mascot down the bottom.
Yep, that's Sprinkles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Elaborate on the name.
Yeah, Sprinkles, that's right. Jermaine's been a volunteer with us for a good 3 years now. It's old Jack there. That's the pagoda in the middle. Corn, we had 1 year where we had a really good crop. There's Tony with some brassicas there. That's another feature. It's like it's supposedly a sensory garden. Once again, built by volunteers and work for the Dole people. You get a lot of different skill sets coming through the garden as well. There's Russell putting in a water feature with a solar panel. It's driving that. A couple of other happy campers. We put on a meal on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The church does a fair bit in food rescue and doing food parcels. There's a Friday night food truck for the community that's popular. That's not really the garden, it just comes under the same kind of umbrella. That's a short video. Sorry. Do you know how I play that one, Chris?
No, don't. All one. You know how to play it. It's embedded. Do you know how to play that? Oh.
I can't find the right buttons. I've got a teenager that does all that for me. Oh, there we go. So this is just a 2-minute video. I took this sometime last week. Just give you an idea of where we are. You got your goby, old man salt bush, some blue lilies. So the mulberry trees are right up. We're trying to do a food support where we can put some part of the produce outside in boxes for people to take from. And a lady brought along a bucket full of lemons from her lemon tree the other day, so it's starting to catch on. Yeah. There's a kulbadi, cheeky birds. Like they know when we're around the worms because they all come around and then. So it's looking a little bit battered from the wind. We're in a fairly strong storm sector. We've got wicking beds over there. This fantastic new material that this guy donated. It's like an eco plastic timber.
Sharp edge, WHS.
Yeah. There's a herb spiral in there. That was a workshop. We do workshops from time to time. There's Kerry and Cheryl attending to the frog pond. So a lot of stuff is starting to self-seed now. You've got your mustard lettuces and nasturtiums and even fennel, bok choy just starting to pop up out of the ground. So it's the guys spend more time building stuff than actually gardening, but I think it's yeah.
Did you have fish in those tubs that had the grill over the top?
We did have at one stage, but then the hose from the pump came unstuck and the crows got in. Yep, now we got dead fish, but yeah. We got frogs in them sometimes, Chris.
Yep.
That's your lubba beans there. They're berserks.
Their flowers are really nice too.
Right. I did not know that.
All right, good job.
So there you go.
Can you thank Andy for that presentation?
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Bright